Hi, my name is Chris Judd, and I'm joined here with my friends Katie Harmon-McLaughlin and Janae Grover. And our intention today is to invite you to join us on a Lenten journey. I know that when I was growing up, we didn't observe Lent in the Community of Christ tradition, not as a rule. But my friends at school would, and I was always confused about what that was really, the purpose of that was, because it seemed like they were punishing themselves by not eating chocolate, and they were punishing me because we all had to eat fish on Fridays. So I know that Lent is a much bigger and deeper journey than that. And Katie, I wondered if you'd share with us, what your thoughts are about what Lent is.
Sure. I think Lent can be a really powerful way to live into our Christian story and pattern our lives after Christ. And Lent, at its essence, is really about helping us strip ourselves of the things that are unnecessary or distracting in our discipleship and focusing on what matters most. It's also a really good time and an intentional time for us to be able to focus on the restoring of broken relationships with ourselves, with God, with others, and with the whole of creation.
So Katie, it sounds as though Lent is an intentional period of time in which we use practices to help us restore relationships and pursue shalom, to go deeper with God. And these practices are ancient, but they lead us into a new way of being.
Absolutely.
That's right. And so these practices that we are using have been a part of our deep, rich Christian tradition. But it's important to remember that the journey is not about the practices themselves, but rather how they lead us into a deeper awareness and connection with God, and how that finds outward expression in our discipleship. And living through this story again and again can potentially shape us in very powerful ways.
Though there are many great practices to choose from, the 6 that have been chosen intentionally for this Lenten journey are meant to guide us deeper into the season of Lent. The first practice is an essential Lenten practice, and that's fasting. And fasting is about opening ourselves and emptying ourselves to make space for God along the way. The second week, we focus on the practice of examine, which is about reviewing our lives and seeking realignment with the life of Christ. The third week, we focus on holy attention. And holy attention helps us focus on what we see and what we notice as we look for God's presence in our lives and in the world. When we're looking for God's presence in the world, we can practice centering prayer, which helps us to dwell in that presence, to center ourselves in God. The fifth week, we offer the practice of Lectio Divina, which is Latin for sacred reading, and it is a way for us to listen to the voice of God through sacred text. The last week, which is Holy Week, we focus on the practice of silence. Silence during Holy Week helps us be speechless before the mystery, open to God's presence, and humble as we make our way toward the cross.
So these Lenten practices draw us inward. And you both have mentioned that Lent can help transform us. And we know from our scriptures that the road to transformation takes us inward as well as outward. And so I guess I want to suggest that Lent can lead us into social justice, that they're linked. That during the Lenten time, as we empty ourselves and become more aware, we can ask ourselves, really, what's going on around us in the world? And then why is it going on? And when we can see those injustices with the awareness that we've received during the Lenten period, then we know we have a better idea of what acts of justice we need to take. As I think about fasting, you said it's an essential practice for Lent, and fasting is so countercultural. It's pretty subversive in our culture where we are wanting to consume and buy and fill our lives with noise and distractions and activity. And this Lenten journey requires us to let go of that and to make space. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we as a body are compelled into acts of social justice that will lead us to shalom.
That's right, and there are so many ways that these practices can find expression in our lives as individuals and as a community. And so we invite you to go to the church website, where there is a variety of ways that these practices can be incorporated, as well as a more thorough description of each practice. These practices can be incorporated into worship services, small group sessions, classes, family devotions, or for personal spiritual practices. And it's important to remember that there is no one right practice or method or result, but that every journey is unique. And so we invite you to join us on this journey, to join in these shared practices as a community, to engage in conversations along the way, and to pay attention to how we are being shaped and formed as disciples of Jesus Christ.
So we pray abundant blessings on this Lenten journey. May we be truly transformed and renewed this Lenten season as a community of Christ.